Hello, and welcome to The Muppets, the Sitcom, the podcast, presented by toughpigs.com. This is the podcast where we revisit The Muppets' grand return to television in the 2015 ABC series The Muppets and see how it holds up 5 years later. You can follow along with the series by revisiting The Muppets, which is now streaming on Disney+. I'm Ryan Roe, your host for today's show, and our special guest today is the author of Jim Henson, the Biography, among many other great books, Brian J. Jones. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Ryan. I'm happy to be your sidekick again.
Yes, listeners, well, these podcast episodes will be coming out in a different order, but listeners will soon be able to hear Brian once again on the Moving Right Along podcast, so keep an eye out for that.
That's right. I'm always happy to join the gang of Tough Kid Pigs. Anyway, you guys are great.
We love having you, so thanks for joining us. And today we are here to talk about Little Green Lie. This is the 14th episode of The Muppets. It aired on ABC on February 23rd, 2016. In this episode, Kermit tries to spare Robin's feelings, and Gonzo tries to balance romance and friendship. So before we get into each of these storylines, we generally start by asking our guests about their memories of the show from the original run, although, Brian, you're coming to this from kind of a different perspective.
Yeah, I did not watch the entire series in its first run. I watched the first few episodes, but I didn't get to watch the rest, and I don't remember why. Partly it's because I don't have cable, and I didn't have them. So it was one on first run I missed them. So I was actually really glad to get to watch them all here now on Disney.
Yeah, it's good. You can watch them all in a row if you want. Do you know how many episodes in you got before you had to stop?
I think I watched the first 3 for sure. I know that much.
Okay. So those were all, like, the early episodes are a little rough. You know, they're all very entertaining, but some of the character stuff, they still hadn't quite figured out what to do. So it's interesting that that's as far as you got.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting to me because I mean the narrative on it is that it started off slow and found its way, and probably had it been given another season would have righted the ship. And
I think so.
They were figuring out the character. It's interesting sitting and so I kind of binge watched all these now, knowing we were going to talk about it, and sitting and watching them all right in a row. I thought they were great, actually.
Yeah.
I laughed out loud quite a bit. Now and we'll talk about this a little bit. I cannot get enough of the Gonzo, Rizzo, Pepe group, but especially watching Pepe and Rizzo together. I mean, Steve Whitmire and Bill are just nuts.
Yeah.
So funny. So like I can't get enough of that one. So, but it was interesting watching them all right in a row. I think actually changes the way they look to you.
That's probably true because you're probably more inclined to be charitable toward the stuff toward the beginning that doesn't work. I mean, I will always say that the whole series is very funny. Like, it's full of great jokes, and it does just get better and better over the season.
Yeah, and again, and I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit. I think part of where they figured it out a little bit is, when you do have Pizza, the consultant, come in who says, and they decide that everybody needs to do something. It doesn't just need to be Miss Piggy's show. That is the right decision. It could well be that was planned the entire time. But for me, that's in a way, like of the movies, the 3 in Jim's lifetime, the one that I like the least is actually Great Muppet Caper, because it's a little too heavy on Miss Piggy for me. I like when the whole gang is in the mix. So I think that by the time they get to it's maybe episode 8 or 9, when they make the touch where everybody's going to get a part now of Piggy's show, I think that's the moment almost when the switch gets flipped.
Yeah, and I think that was the first one after the hiatus when they switched showrunners.
It could well be. And again, I don't know. Bill Prady definitely knows the Muppets well. I don't know if that was his plan all along, where he's like, let's show you what it's like when Bane and Batman were going on in the comic books, and you had somebody else come in and was Batman, and Denny O'Neil was like, well, everybody wanted a Batman that kills, and we wanted to show them that was a bad idea. Maybe now with the Muppets, they were like, well, let's show them what happens when actually, like, Kermit's not quite as in charge, and it's very Piggy centric, and they're not all together, and show you that's you're not going to like that. It's a risky decision, but who knows? I mean, It could be that they have that arc figured out. We're going to shake you up first, and then right you in the middle of this.
Yeah, that would be quite a gamble.
Well, and obviously it didn't pay
No,
off.
it didn't,
So
because people tuned in and saw Muppets who were not nice to each other and decided
yeah.
not to watch it again. So yeah, this is the one. This is where we see Robin for the first time in the series. So we can start with that storyline. This begins with Kermit arriving at the studio to find Zoot sleeping on the set. Kermit's getting the place ready for a visit from his nephew Robin. He got Robin his own director's chair. He's doing this because Robin's parents split up, and he could really use some cheering up. Robin's parents, I don't know that we've ever really heard much about them.
Yeah, that was a surprise to me and kind of actually like a dark moment. For a minute, I was like, did somebody maybe catch and eat Robin's dad?
Oh no.
But we do find out, I think, that they're all still alive. But yeah, that was a like a shocking moment actually.
Yeah, yeah, especially because it's like, oh, Robin's parents have never really been mentioned before, and oh, too bad, now they're split
Right.
up.
Right. Yeah. It's a conceit of kid shows. Everybody's uncle somebody, and so like
Right.
Robin, we've never really asked the question. Does that mean that like Kermit has a brother, and that's his
Yeah,
son? So it's like, what's the relationship here?
I feel like I would have to do a search for this, but I feel like there's been an interview at some point where somebody asked Kermit about that, and he said something to the effect of like, he has hundreds of brothers and sisters back
That's
in the
right.
swamp, and
That's right.
Robin is the son of one of them, but he's not sure
Yep.
which one or something like
Yep.
that.
Nope. You're right. I do remember that now that you say that.
Yeah, I get that confused though, because Rizzo also makes jokes about his thousands of brothers and sisters, so they both have big families. So yeah, Zoot says, "Sure, nothing fixes a broken home like a chair," which is a great joke. Zoot traditionally doesn't talk a lot, so it's fun to see him as this sort of just kind of offering disinterested commentary as he observes what Kermit's doing.
Yeah, they kind of gave all the various members of the Mayhem a little more personal. I'm not necessarily sure I like Floyd as sort of the doomsday
No,
prepper
no, no, I do not
that
like
he
that.
is,
That does not make
but
sense for Floyd.
but I do appreciate that they were like, well, let's try to give them something beyond just being the bass player and the sax player. But
Yeah,
I remember Dave Goles, somebody said something about how they love Zoot, and Dave Goles was like, why would you love Zoot? He doesn't do
there's
anything. But
not much to him.
but
Yeah.
but they're trying to put some flesh in the bones. Right? I really appreciate.
Yeah, I think the most successful one maybe is Janice, where they just lean into her sort of hippie quality, and she's just kind
Although
of this new
I can
agey.
I cannot stop watching the uvula on that puppet though.
Yeah, it's. I think it has grown more pronounced in recent
Wow,
years.
it's like the mouth is closing on it half the time.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it used to be. I think it's always been there, but it didn't used to be quite so dangly.
But you're right. That's a great character. I like what they're doing with Janice.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, then Robin shows up. He's in the office. We see him telling Scooter that he can't believe all the snacks are free. This is a very high energy Robin. I think more so than we've seen before. On the Muppet Show, he was always kind of the cute kid, but maybe a little bit more like. I mean, he would perform and stuff, but I don't think he was quite as active,
Animated.
yes,
Yeah.
as he is here.
And I have to say, I I like this Scooter. The Sunday fun times. That's
Right,
the
right.
line that made me laugh out loud on that. I like the way they do Scooter on here.
Yeah.
Still very earnest, always apologizing for swearing when he says things like Sunday fun time.
Right. So yeah, it's kind of an unexpected thing for Kermit to do, which is he jumps out from behind a corner and just kind of screams to scare Robin by way of a greeting. But it's something a fun uncle would do. I think that
Yeah,
that works.
absolutely.
And then
It's what strikes me in watching this, especially when you compare it to the Muppet Show from the '70s, is um, the puppets are all over the place. They're all over depth of field. They're behind desks, and then they walk out from behind desks, and it's completely seamless. It's
yeah,
the puppetry is really impressive in this series. I mean, convincing is an overused word when it comes to puppetry, but like you really start realizing, you're like, wow, these guys are in like, this is the real world. This is like actual furniture. It's
right.
not like prop furniture they built for puppets, although I'm sure it is. But it's fascinating to me, like seeing them in an actual office space. It's not the Muppet Theater.
Right.
It gives it a very different feel.
Yeah, and so much of it is shot with the handheld camera, which just makes it seem very immediate, like it's all really happening.
Yeah, and they look great. The puppets look great. You and I were talking offline at one point, but with the with the high def, you can actually see all the little bits of fur and fleece on everybody. But the puppets look fantastic on it.
Yeah, I think for the most part they do. Yeah, yeah, it's great to see them
Although,
in HD
although
and
although you and I were saying again offline here, I'm not impressed with the build on this Fozzie.
yeah, Fozzie has seen some better days, but I don't. Someone can correct me on this. I think there was something about the material that he used to be made out of is not available anymore, or they had to
Yeah.
switch for some reason. So
Yeah, I can't tell. I can't put my finger on it. There's something about the mouth shape, even the face almost looks
yeah,
flatter to me. I can't put my finger on it, but it's a different build, and I don't like it as well.
well, you would think they would still have the original patterns that he's
You would think
always
so.
been made from, but
Yeah.
I don't know. So Kermit pops out and screams. That's when Scooter says Monday fun times, and then he apologizes for cussing in front of a child. Yeah, I do like most of what this series does with Scooter. I've said on this podcast before, I'm not crazy about the stuff with his mother's boyfriend Ken. But
although every time that line comes up, I would laugh. Though I have to say,
yeah,
it's
I
like
mean,
It's like Michael Scott's terrible childhood and his
yeah,
mom's boyfriend there too. But yeah,
yeah, the unseen mother's
I
boyfriend
do,
Ken.
and I do love his Chelsea Handler crush as well. So
Yeah, that one was fun. Yeah, that was a good one. We should also mention that this episode is probably the most prominent performance of Matt Vogel's Robin. He sort of took over a bunch of Jerry Nelson characters at the same time, but then he hadn't really done much with Robin before
I didn't know
this. Yeah. But since this time, he is no longer playing Robin because he's now playing Kermit, and Robin has been played by Peter Linz in recent years. So this is, I guess this will always be Matt Vogel's most prominent Robin performance.
His debut as Robin. Yeah. Now, who's performing Scooter? Is that Peter Linz too?
Scooter is David Rudman.
David Rudman. That's right.
Yeah, he took over Scooter and Janice. So Robin is very excited to hang out with Miss Piggy, and this is when Kermit explains in one of these talking head interviews that the three of them always had a great time together. It's funny, but I don't think it really has any basis in what we've seen in the past. I can't think of a single time that Miss Piggy showed any kind of affection to Robin, really, on the Muppet Show or anywhere.
Yeah, this is everything that happened between 1981 and 2011. Apparently,
I guess so. Yeah, things that we just didn't see happen on screen. But I do like these.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I like these photos that come up while Kermit is talking.
That's what I was just gonna say. I think that one is almost a deliberate callback to the pictures of Elmo you always see in Times Square.
Right.
All the weird-looking Elmos and that somebody's getting the picture taken with the really terrible-looking Miss Piggy impersonator in the background.
Yeah, they're on Hollywood Boulevard, and Robin is sort of looking at a terrible costumed character of Miss Piggy posing for photos.
Yeah, nice touch, I thought.
Yeah, there's one where it looks like they're on Splash Mountain, and one where they're on the beach, and Piggy is buried in the sand. So yeah, apparently they've been having some great times together that we just haven't seen before.
Right, just we just don't know about.
Yeah,
it all happened off camera.
Right. So then Kermit is telling us, he's talking to the camera, saying that it's too bad that Piggy will not be joining them this time. So then in Kermit's office, Robin is hopping around. He's looking at everything. He's so excited to be there. He's like hopping up to look at everything on Kermit's shelves. It's like we said, it's not quite like Robin has been in the past, but it's funny and it makes him seem like a real kid for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was very real. I mean, I've seen the kids come into my boss's office and they got to touch everything.
They want to pick everything up.
And if they're in your office, it doesn't matter if that's not their parents' office. If they're in your office, they want to pick up and touch everything you've got.
Yeah. So
yeah, that struck me as very, very real.
Yeah, I think so. Robin says that he saw in the tabloids that Kermit and Piggy broke up, but he doesn't believe it because his mom told him they're filled with lies. And he goes on to say the only thing that has gotten him through this past year is knowing that Kermit and Piggy are together.
Yeah.
That and hearing that you can go through a growth spurt in your 30s.
Right. A throwaway line.
Which is, a throwaway line, but hilarious. I mean, I guess I don't know how old Robin is supposed to be exactly, but he's a very small frog.
He definitely is. Yeah, and I don't know if that was, not fan service, but I think partly it's one of those that might have been their commentary where on us as fans going, the only thing that's kept us going for the Muppets is hoping that Kermit and Miss Piggy are an item.
Yeah, for a lot of the fans, definitely.
Right.
Yeah, I think
So
this whole episode is kind of part of the plan to get them back together on this series if the series had continued.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
And so Piggy comes in. She has a gift bag for Robin, which is just a leftover gift bag from the People's Choice Awards.
Which was great. That was a great joke. I actually wrote that one down. That was a great joke.
Yeah. So Kermit kind of rushes her out of the room to tell her that he thinks they should pretend to be together so Robin's delicate feelings are not crushed. This is also when Kermit tells Piggy that he and Denise broke up, which happened a couple episodes ago. I guess she hadn't found out about it until now.
Right, and most of that was happening off screen. Like they had the thing where they were going to think about it, and then Kermit has that terrible line where he says she usually thinking is not her strong suit, and then says, "Well, that actually came out wrong."
Yeah.
But there's been a lot going on with that relationship off screen.
I guess
none of us have even seen either. We knew that they were on the outs, but that was about it.
Right. I guess maybe it hadn't been conclusively ended yet, but
right.
now it has. But Piggy does say that she is sorry, and it sounds like she really means that. So it's nice to see that sweet side of Piggy. The gift bag also came with a waxing kit, and Piggy suddenly realizes that she should get it away from him, from Robin. And then,
what's Robin interested in doing? More anything else? Eating the wax.
Right. I think this is the funniest joke in this entire episode, where we see it through the window of Kermit's office. Just Robin with his little spindly frog arm holding up the applicator from the waxing kit and about to put it in his mouth.
Crammed in there, yeah.
Right. But yeah, I love that. That cracks me up.
And like they cut away as Kermit goes, "Robin, don't eat that," and then they cut away.
Right as he's putting it in his mouth. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, I love that. Later, the Muppets are gathered around the conference table. They are playing a game where they try to bounce a tennis ball into Big Mean Carl's huge open mouth. This is the kind of stuff, like, we should have been seeing stuff like this from the very beginning of the series. Just not only coworkers goofing off at work, but in a uniquely Muppet way.
Right, especially with the payoff to this particular joke.
Absolutely, because Fozzie gets the tennis ball into Carl's mouth, and then Piggy's dog Fufu jumps in after it. And Fozzie is shocked, but Carl just says, he got the ball, he's happy.
Right. Boy, that Big Mean Carl is a great character.
I love Big Mean Carl, yeah.
But that was when, actually watching that, when Fufu went in, I actually yelled, "Oh no!" I laughed at that one. So
yeah,
it got me. That was a great moment.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah, I'm really glad that Carl was one of the characters who survived past Muppets Tonight. So
and I love watching the way the mouth on that puppet works too. It goes side to side, and they do it. It's just so funny.
Yeah, I'd like to actually see that in person, because that mouth is so big and just kind of, it looks like it just kind of hangs open. Yeah, I would love to see that performed in person.
Yeah, and when they, it's got to be one of those where you've got just both arms straight out and are like just, but his mouth kind of goes side to side. It doesn't open up.
Right, it's very flexible.
It's a very strange delivery, and it's really funny.
Yeah. So then Kermit comes in to the set. He asks everyone to act like he and Piggy are still together because of Robin. Fozzie says, okay, this will be a great chance to practice his acting. And then Fozzie recites some famous movie quotes with the emphasis in the wrong place. He says, "Luke, I am your father. I'll have what she's having. You had me at hello." I guess this is funny. It's a very weird joke. I don't really understand why Fozzie thinks this constitutes acting.
I don't know. Completely random.
Yeah. Scooter wants to help, but he cannot lie. He says he breaks out in hives, but then he has to say that he's allergic to strawberries, which makes it worse because he actually loves strawberries.
Now, see, again, that to me felt like a very that felt to me like a Jerry Joel joke. Where like Scooter, Scooter saying like, "I can't tell a lie, don't make me lie," and so Kermit's like, "Okay, well then we're going out." Like that, there was something about that particular moment right there that felt like Jerry Joel writing to me.
Yeah, I can see that. It's also an example of, are the Muppets like Scooter is not always presented as a dumb guy, but he's as dumb as he needs to be for this joke to work.
Right. Well, it just picture he seemed very naive, which is the way Scooter
Yeah,
kind of is.
yeah,
He's
it
just like,
works.
no, 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 my God, I can't lie. And the other, I think it's in this episode, the killer line. He says, "You just made me the first person on Twitter to lie."
Yeah, yeah, that's later.
I mean, like just one of the greatest lines ever. But that's a Scooter line.
Right. Yeah. So here it's he says he can't lie, and Kermit says, "Okay, then Piggy and I are back together." And he's like, "Oh, great!" So
Yeah,
yeah,
and Scooter's all in. Like the reality presented to him is the reality he's in.
yeah, he'll buy it. So Kermit tells everyone assembled, "If you don't think you can do this, I understand. Just steer clear of Robin." And then Robin runs up and says, "Hey, everybody!" And everybody just runs away terrified.
Everybody steers clear.
Yeah,
I thought that was a good joke. I thought.
Yeah, this is a really funny episode, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
Later, backstage, Miss Piggy almost lets it slip when she says she's going on a date, but she fixes it. She says, "A date an Ohio charity trip. That city needs help because it's in Ohio." Always funny to pick on Ohio.
There's something about that word that it's like it's the right state for a punchline. Just the way the word Ohio is. There's something funny about it.
Yeah, yeah. And then Dudley tells Kermit that this is the third least important secret he's currently keeping, and he sort of pokes his finger at Kermit and then like slinks out of the frame, which is just great timing, great puppetry, great direction.
So now I'm sure you guys have talked about this plenty, especially over the last 13 episodes, but the evolution of Uncle Deadly is just nothing short of miraculous.
Oh
I
yeah.
love the way Matt is playing that character, the way they're writing him, like the personality they're giving him. I mean, the couple episodes ago when he has the penguin named Gloria Estefan, and he's always
Yes.
like, "Gloria Estefan, get out of my room." Not the first time I've said that. I mean, it's
Right.
just there's like just so many great little moments there, and that's when that again is the Muppets working, like the Muppet engine firing, because it's not a lot of moments, but the moments he's got really count.
Absolutely. And yeah, he sort of becomes the MVP of the show, and I think part of it is because we didn't have, or the general audience didn't have a lot of preconceived ideas about Dudley before this show, so they were able
Yeah.
to have a lot of flexibility with him.
Yeah, and again, just performed beautifully. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I love watching the way he's working the mouth on him half the time, and it's he really perform. And actually, the way Steve Whitmire's performing Kermit is really fantastic in all of these episodes. I
Yeah, he's
noticed
very expressive.
he's really got it. Like, I mean, Steve knows what he's doing. He's been doing it a long time, but he's really got it down. Like he's got those slow burns, and it's the
Yeah,
smile. It's
just
really impressive.
little tilts of the head
Yeah.
and a lot of cool puppet tricks like clicking his pen, I think, in this episode.
Yeah. Lots of shots of them drinking stuff through straws. I really like that one.
Yeah, yeah, we see that in this one too. So after the show that night, Kermit is trying to prevent Robin from going to hang out with the rest of the gang at Ralph's Tavern, but he ends up accidentally initiating a laser tag night with a bunch of the guys.
That's another great moment there. Those when Kermit's like, "No, they've all got lives. They got other things to do. They're not going out tonight."
Yeah.
And Sweetums is pleading that he has no life. He needs to go out with them.
Right, it doesn't work. So the Muppets playing laser tag, it's a fun idea. I'm not sure it really works that well in execution, if only because the Muppets can't really like run around shooting people like you would if you were in a laser tag arena.
You're dead on. That was kind of my thought. In exactly, it's like it's a really fun idea. It's hard to execute.
Yeah.
When you can only be filmed from the waist up.
Yeah.
Really, really tough. And again, you don't get any sense of just how nuts laser tag can be. I think because of that.
Right. Right. If you had some of the larger, like if it was just Sweetums running around shooting at another, like I don't know,
shooting a big mean Carl.
Yeah, yeah, or Timmy Monster, or I don't, yeah,
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That might have been fun to see, but yeah, it's not as effective when they're just kind of relegated to the same sort of small area.
It almost would work better to have gone bowling,
Oh yeah, that would be fun. But I do wonder if it was hard to shoot this because it looks like it's under a black light, and I
Yeah,
wonder what the Muppets look like under black
that's true.
light because they're made of
That's
all kinds
true.
of different materials.
Right. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, but I mean they look fine. Like look kind of cool. So Piggy's really into the laser tag. There's a moment where a kid comes up to her and excitedly says, "Hey, are you Miss Piggy?" And she just immediately shoots him, and he walks away so dejected. Kermit says, "Never meet your heroes."
Have you ever played laser tag?
I have. It's been many years at this point, but
So
yeah.
here's what tends to happen to you as an adult at laser tag. You're walking around, and because you're bigger than most of the people in the room, you tend to pick up one little kid who's going to tail around behind you and just unload on you constantly. So
Oh,
your gun never works.
yeah.
Like the last 2 or 3 times I went, that was what I'm doing the whole time. And I turned around, I'm like the cranky old man. I'm like, go away, stop shooting me, kid, go away, leave me alone. But
Yeah, that's
it's like
frustrating.
I never got a shot off because some kid just latched onto me the entire time and would not stop shooting me.
Yeah.
And so I could relate to Piggy in that scene, is what I'm saying.
I would still rather play laser tag than paintball, though. It's
God,
a
me too. Yeah,
little less
less
painful.
less painful.
Right. And
Yeah,
messy.
I'm a paintball wuss. Yeah, for
Mm.
2 reasons. I don't like it hurts, and I don't like being messy. I don't like
Yeah.
water balloons for that reason. Like people who want to do water balloon fights, I don't want to be wet. I'm a big wuss. I'm a stick in the mud on that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I don't suppose we'll ever see the Muppets playing paintball because that would be very
Oh my
dangerous
god.
to the puppeteers.
Yeah. Yeah, too much damage.
Yeah.
Too much damage.
And the puppets themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to redo them all.
Yeah. So then a news crew shows up. They saw Scooter's tweets about Kermit and Piggy being back together. Kermit and Piggy hide from the news crew, but then they end up sort of reminiscing about old times. They have a nice little moment.
Yeah.
A reporter points a microphone at them and asks them if they are in fact back together. They have to say no, it was just a misunderstanding. But Robin overhears them say this. He runs away. And then this is when Scooter says, "No, you just made me the first person to lie on Twitter."
That was a great line.
Yeah, Robin and Scooter both traumatized here.
First person in the world to lie on Twitter, even. That's what made it even
Yeah, yeah. So they find Robin hiding in this sort of monster mouth thing in the laser tag place. They apologize to him. Robin says he understood why his parents broke up. My mom likes quiet nights, and my dad likes my teacher. An unexpected joke, but a very funny one.
yes.
But he always thought Kermit and Piggy were meant to be. They insist like no, we're not. It's not going to work out. It can't work out. Uh, but they assure him. Kermit says, "I'll always be your Uncle Kermit," and Piggy says, "And I'll always be your Aunt Miss Piggy."
Right.
Very charming. Robin then also says that he thought something was up when Fozzie said Kermit and Piggy are broken up, and then said, "I see dead people." So the writers are so
More again.
committed,
Yeah.
yeah, to this weird Fozzie acting joke that they bothered to do a
Right. There you
callback.
go. They welcome it. They're gonna double down on it. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I admire that.
Stick to it. Once
Yeah,
is funny, twice is a spanking.
right. So later at Ralph's Tavern, Scooter and Robin are drinking milkshakes. Scooter is, as you alluded to, he is actually appears to be drinking this. The level of the milkshake in the glass is going down, which is always a neat puppet trick.
Right.
Scooter is feeling sad. The music that Ralph is playing on the piano is not helping. Ralph says
Not helping.
yeah, he just found out he has worms. How do you feel about Ralph doing the worms joke?
Haven't we had that joke before?
I don't know.
There's something about that felt familiar. I thought we'd had that joke before. I didn't think it was an intentional callback, but I really thought they'd used that joke before.
Oh, it's possible. In one of the previous episodes that Joe hosted, he and the guest talked about how Ralph does a lot of dog jokes on this show, and I don't mind that, but Ralph doesn't get a lot to do on this show at all, so it is kind of too bad that so much of his dialogue is just dog jokes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was nice seeing. It was nice seeing Rolf as actually like the bartender.
Yeah, that's a great concept.
Yeah, it's great. I love him having, the bar. He's the place where they all go to settle down, and that's very Rolf. I mean, that's very, he's the homespun guy, the laid back guy, the guy who's gonna, give you the advice the bartender gives you.
Yeah.
So that's a great decision on Rolf. But yeah, making him obsessed with dog metaphor and dog joke, it works to an extent. It's like, yeah, we get it. Rolf's a dog, got it.
Right.
Let's move on.
Yeah, they just didn't do enough with him. So Kermit asks Piggy, why are people so obsessed with us getting back together? Now that is definitely a meta line.
Yeah, that's a fan service line.
On the part of the writers, yeah. They just kind of go on. They have amazing chemistry on stage, and the fact that they lasted so long, there must have been something there. And then they both go for the same milkshake straw. There's an awkward little moment. But yeah, clearly this is, there's only 2 episodes left at this point. But clearly they are setting things up to give Kermit and Piggy the reunion that many of the fans had been demanding at this point.
Right.
I do think they were probably surprised at maybe some of the negative response that they got to the whole PR stunt of announcing that they were breaking up.
Right.
So they were probably hoping to get some viewers back in season 2 by bringing them back together, but of course that didn't happen.
Yeah, and again, the Miss Piggy show was in the show itself was becoming more about all the other characters as well. They even have, I can't remember if it's in this episode, there's even that line where they say, where Piggy says, "I just figured out that more of everyone else means less of me."
Yeah, that's funny. But that's what the real life audience wants to see.
Yeah, I was just looking this up to see who wrote this episode, and because I was expecting it to maybe be Bill Prady, but it's not. It's Dave Kaplan, Jordan Redout, and Gus Hickey.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how hands-on Bill Prady actually was after the sort of initial development phase. I mean, I guess he was around, but...
And it's telling, I was just talking earlier about how impressive it is that the Muppets are kind of like, in all dimensions on screen. This episode's directed by Bill Beretta.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. I actually forgot to put that in my notes, but yeah, one of the main Muppet performers directed this episode, so that's cool.
Yeah. And again, I have to give a shout out to him because he's just every character he performs, he just kills.
Yeah.
Pepe is so funny. Bobo is so funny.
Yeah.
And I know it's scripted, so he's delivering it, but I mean, every time they go to one of Bill's characters, it's just gold. He's so funny, and Pepe and Rizzo are just great, and I think partly it has to do with the chemistry between the two performers. I mean, they know how to step on the other person's line in a way that's not, not letting them not deliver it, but it's like it feels like very genuine banter between those two characters.
I think it's funny.
Genuine banter.
I think it's funny too to put the two little guys together.
Yeah. And again, like Pepe, just that I think one of the jokes, the Pepe lines that I laughed at the hardest is when they're talking about one of the Sean Penn movies. I can't remember which one, and he keeps saying champagne.
Oh,
and
yeah,
champagne. And he's like, no, champagne.
Yeah.
For Sean Penn. I mean, that line is so stupidly smart. I mean, I love that line.
Yeah, I don't know how you would come up with a joke like that.
Yeah, it's just great, and that's one where you're like, I wanted to be in the writers' room when they all like patted themselves on the back for that.
Right.
So, it's so funny, but again, Bill absolutely just kills with it. He is so funny in this series.
Yeah, and I really Bobo is in this episode a little bit, but we've mentioned already that Big Mean Carl shines in his very brief appearance.
And anytime they go to Bobo in any of the episodes, he never gets a lot to do, but he's always exasperated.
Oh yeah.
And
Bobo's great.
He's just great. Like you can go to him, and it's like I was saying a little earlier, like when you get those moments with Uncle Deadly, they're not very long, but they really count. And like Bill does that with Bobo. Like every Bobo moment counts.
Yeah.
And definitely the Pepe moments too. But even like those little, when you don't get a lot of Bobo, it's still like when you do, it's enough because they're really great. You don't feel they wasted the moment.
Yeah, I think also with Bobo, similar to Big Mean Carl, similar to Uncle Deadly, his skill at manipulating the puppet has a lot to do with the comedy of the character, because Bobo is just like this kind of rotund, hulking bear who's like, his face just moves a little bit when he speaks, and that
Right.
just makes it funnier.
Bobo's one of the first characters when I was doing my research on the on Jim Henson biography, and I was in the Henson Company archives. They actually had a full size Bobo there because they were outfitting him. They were making a costume for him for something. So
Oh,
like the full size Bobo was actually right there in the Henson Company labs there
wow.
for costuming. That was one of the first real Muppets I saw.
I'm wondering what costume that would have been or what production that would have been for.
I can't remember. It might have even been for, let's see, it was 2000, 11 maybe. So it could have been for, I don't know. It
Maybe something for the movie, the 2011
could have been
movie,
for,
or
yeah. I feel
or the
like he had
promotion for that.
I feel like he had I feel like they were making a suit, but I can't remember now.
Hmm.
And I did see Grover on a stand being made an Iron Man costume, which was cool too.
Oh, yeah, that's a fun episode of Sesame Street.
Yeah, so I got to see that. And then I also saw Mr. Johnson hanging on a hook.
Yeah, you never know what you'll see over
I know,
there.
it was great. And one of the Three Little Pigs, which is one of my favorite Sesame sketches of all time.
Oh, like the little sort of anything Muppet pigs.
Yeah, the ones from when
Yeah,
Kermit and the Count are going to knock on the Three Little Pigs' door. That's
yeah.
one of my favorite sketches ever. So anyway, one of the pigs was there. Anyway, I'm off subject.
Those are the pigs who play paper, rock, scissors, and on at least one occasion, maybe two, on Sesame Street, which is really funny when you think about it because their hands are just like posed in the same permanent position.
Yeah. That was one of the things that I keep watching in the TV series here is Rizzo's hands. Every once in a while, I'm like, I swear his hands moved, and I don't think they do. Um, but
Hmm.
I always swear, I'm like, are those hands articulated? Did I see his hands flex? I don't know if they are or not.
I
There
don't
was
know.
another moment where Piggy was doing something and she was supposed to be upset, and I was like, I swear to God, they switched out her eyes, and they didn't. It was just the way
Oh,
she was just performed
yeah.
so well by Eric Jacobson. But there was one moment actually there where I was like, I swear to God, her eyes are different, or they changed the
Huh.
eyes out, or the eyes are articulated. She was just performed really well, and
Yeah, they're just.
I think that's the case with Rizzo. I don't think his hands are articulate. I think just the way Steve is doing him is just so convincing.
Yeah, I bet that's right. Well, so yeah, that's the Robin storyline. Um, Speaking of Steve Whitmire, I think this has probably come up on the podcast before, and also on our other podcast. But so we are talking about this episode. We should mention this. The fact that Kermit lies to his nephew has been a topic of some debate. After Steve Whitmire was let go by Disney, it was clear that there were some differences of opinion between the two parties. He did an interview with The Hollywood Reporter shortly after that, and he cited this episode as one where he was telling the network or the Disney executives that he didn't think that this storyline was true to the character of Kermit. He said, I don't think Kermit would lie to him. I think that as Robin came to Kermit, he would say, things happen, people go their separate ways. But that doesn't mean we don't care about you. Kermit is too compassionate to lie to him to spare his feelings. So it's interesting, and actually that's kind of where the episode ends up. So I would be
Yeah.
curious to know if maybe there was a different version of this where uh, not all of that stuff made it in. But
Yeah, it is. It's a that's actually a great question and great point. It it didn't bother me that much because it's done kind of so over the top. But
that's
I get
true.
but I get it. I mean, it is one of those things where like Kermit goes and he's like, shh, okay, everybody. But
Yeah.
it's I don't know. It doesn't seem sinister. It doesn't seem like let's deceive this little kid because Kermit's heart is in the right place on it.
Yeah, he's doing it for a noble reason.
Yeah, I mean, I get where Steve's coming from on that. I think.
Yeah, I mean it's tricky because you still you want to have you want to stay true to the characters, but you also want to be able to have interesting and funny storylines.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess even just to get the joke where he's like, anybody who can't pull this off needs to steer clear of Robin, and they all steer clear of Robin.
Yeah,
I mean, if it was just set up for that, I don't know. But I get Steve's point. It didn't really bother me, but again, I didn't have Kermit on my arm for 32 years, so.
that's true. Yeah, and yeah, none of us really know how that felt to get that script and see Kermit lying to Robin like that. But yeah, they do. work in some of that sort of sentiment where toward the end he and Piggy
Yeah,
are making
you
it
said,
clear to Robin.
yeah, at the end, Kermit gets to give the big speech at the end.
Yeah.
It's,
So
lovely.
yeah, I think it ends in the right place. So
Yeah.
yeah, any other comments on this storyline before we move on to the B story?
No, I don't think so. So you were saying that was the first time we'd seen Robin in years then?
Yeah, he had. Well, so I'm trying to think. He had a line. I think one line in Muppets Most Wanted, where there was
Okay.
just a very quick gag about like Muppets that don't get seen very often.
Okay, gotcha.
Uh, yeah, Robin had a line there. Yeah, I really can't remember what else of substance he had
So if
done.
so if, if this is his, debut after a while, and it's Matt's debut with him, I think it's effective. Again, it felt real. The weird stuff to me is the all the stuff about Robin's parents, because that is
Right.
a little bit out of left field.
Yeah. As far as the voice, which is a thing that people like to complain about, Robin's voice was so close to Jerry Nelson's speaking voice, just pitched up, that I think it would be
Yeah.
impossible for anyone to really sound exactly like he did.
Yeah,
So
the voice didn't bother me. I
yeah,
thought he did a nice job with
yeah, it's a good just little kid voice. So yeah, it's good. Um, yeah, and I'm sure people will let me know whatever other Matt Vogel performances as Robin that I missed. But this is really the most substantive one.
first
So
big one. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Now I'll tell you the one that I don't want to say bother, because nothing really bothers me in that regard. But I think and the way Eric Jacobson performs Animal is super funny. I think he talks too much.
I think he talks a little bit too much on this series. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like there are times where he comes a little too close to speaking in complete sentences.
I was gonna say, I don't need an articulate animal. I want him speaking in like 2 word sentences.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but
he's nuts. I like the way, and like the way all the performers perform the musicians is so convincing.
oh
They're
yeah.
so good at it. And he's great performing Animal. It's funny. The puppet always looks weird to me now. The
Hmm.
eyes always look weird to me. Again, I'm probably way too old school on that. But he talks way too much. I don't need an animal that's that articulate.
Yeah, I am inclined to agree. Although on the other hand, I don't want to be like, animal can only say 5 words at a time, no more than that. But yeah, I think yeah, maybe if they had toned it down a little bit on the
Well,
show.
it's like they're giving him like joke a joke that's both setup and punchline. Usually what you do with Animal is you give him the punchline.
Right, he's all punchline.
Yeah, well,
Right.
yeah, and this stage they're giving him like the exposition, like the setup. I'm like, no, 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 no. Someone else needs to set it up, and Animal needs to like crush the landing.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
That's just me though.
yeah, no, I get it. So then we can move on to the Gonzo and Camilla storyline. This starts with Rizzo and Pepe in the house that they share with Gonzo. They're about to have breakfast when they hear music. They
So
open
so weird.
Yeah, they open a door and they see Gonzo and Camilla doing couples yoga. This is such a strange image.
It really
It's
is. Yeah, Gonzo on his back was
yeah.
doing like leg lunges upwards, with Camilla sitting there doing
Yeah.
nothing. Camilla's doing
No,
nothing.
you're
She's just sitting on his
that's
feet.
that's right. She's not doing yoga at all.
And then I love it. At the breakfast table, they have the two sets of eggs, and one says like eating, and the other one is like possible offspring.
Yes, exactly. One is for breakfast, yeah.
It's like the weirdest setup. But yeah, that was a not disturbing, because it's never really disturbing, but like I mean, just that was one of those really weird moments with Camilla.
Yeah.
It's unexpected, but I mean funny. But wow, was that out? That was bizarre.
Just very yeah, I mean, yeah, just sort of indescribably weird to see Gonzo lifting his legs in the air with Camilla
And
just
just
bouncing on his feet.
and again, beautifully performed by Dave Goles. But just
Yeah.
it like, and I think the reason it was so disturbing, it's so casual.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's so normal.
right, right. There, yeah. To Gonzo and Camilla, it's perfectly normal. So then, in one of these talking head interviews, Pepe and Rizzo tell us that Camilla has moved in. So that was fast because she and Gonzo had
Only just got back.
yeah they were split up a couple episodes ago, and then she showed up at the very end of the one 2 episodes ago. So now she lives here apparently. So I guess They were very happy to reunite.
Gonzo's a man of many passions.
I guess so, yeah. Most of them chicken related.
That's right.
So apparently Camilla has been living in Vegas as a showgirl, and she was dating the tiger that ate Roy. I don't.
Another completely random weird joke.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that joke. I mean, it's fine if Camilla wants to date a tiger, but the
Yeah,
tiger that
no,
ate Roy, that's
yeah, that's a writer's joke, meaning that like I'm sure it killed the writers in the writing room, but it doesn't fit.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, you mentioned the two baskets of eggs, breakfast, and possible offspring. There's a little, I guess it's a gag where Rizzo asks Pepe to make him a Denver omelet, and Pepe takes his eggs from the offspring basket, right?
Oh, I see. I missed that one.
I think he did, unless I saw unless I was looking at it wrong. But I expected that to come back later, but it never does. So I don't know. But later on, Up Late with Miss Piggy, Dudley is hosting a game show sketch called Friendly Feud. It's, I guess, a group of normal people from the audience or whatever against the Electric Mayhem. Dudley says they surveyed 6 people to ask for their favorite flavor of iced cream.
Iced cream, which I love.
Iced cream, yes. And he gives the band a hint. They were the 6 people who were surveyed, but they all have terrible answers.
See, and I thought this was really funny.
Yeah.
Did it work for you? I thought it was really really funny.
Yes. Well, so I like Janice's response is that she doesn't eat ice cream because she doesn't like that they keep those cows in the freezer. That's
Right.
funny.
And then Floyd pulls the weird, doomsday prepper.
Yeah,
stuff
Floyd. I just don't like the Floyd conspiracy theorist. He says cows are experiments by the government and they didn't exist before 1972. Blah. But yes, it's funny just that because
it's Dudley it's Uncle Dudley that makes it funny. Like that. Just
right.
It's like Eugene Levy. It's like that sheer exasperation.
Right.
What makes it funny.
Or like Will Ferrell as Alex Trebek on the Celebrity Jeopardy sketches.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking of, like Eugene Levy when he used to host like the what are the half-wits and that stuff at SCTV, where it's like he was so great as like the completely frazzled game show host.
Oh yeah, yeah. See, I got to see more SCTV. I've seen very little of it.
Because Deadly's trying to like keep it together, and
right.
they're all just so stupid. It rhymes with Manila or whatever.
Right.
And they still can't get it.
I guess then I wonder, was this? I guess this was not a scripted sketch. I guess this was just a game show that they were like, let's put these people on stage with the mayhem.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, no, I mean like within the world of the show.
Oh, right. Yes, yeah. It's just the audience, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a spontaneous thing on the stage. I don't know. So then after the show at Ralph's Tavern, Pepe and Rizzo have decided that because Gonzo is spending so much time with Camilla, they need a new member of their posse. So they've gathered 3. What was that?
A new wingman.
Right. They've gathered 3 candidates: Sam, Big Bean Carl, and Chip, the IT guy.
By the way, I'm fascinated again watching the way Dave Coles performs Chip because of the tongue that character has. First of all, the eyes are weird, but like working that tongue, I can only imagine like the actual, physicality of the hand movement for that to make that tongue move. But I can't stop watching the tongue when he's doing that character.
Yeah, the sort of rise of Chip was another unexpected thing on the series because he was this character who was on the Jim Henson Hour, but wasn't really a character. And then he had just sort of been in the background for years after that. And then they just brought him back and made him this weirdo. And the first new Dave Goelz character in a while too, which is
who performed Chip back in the day? I don't even know.
I believe it was one of the 2 Canadian puppeteers who was a regular on the Jim Henson Hour. So either Gord Robertson or Dan Redican, maybe, but I don't know for sure. And I feel like a failure.
No. That was out of left field.
Yeah. It's out there somewhere. So Sam says he's the obvious choice because to be the wingman because he has wings. Although, does he? Because he has fingers.
I gotta say, they don't really get into it in this episode, but Sam's crush on Janice is actually one of the great unappreciated plot lines running through the series.
Yeah, it's funny. I like the idea that Sam, the straight-laced guy, would develop a crush on Janice, the free-spirited hippie.
And completely one-sided.
Right, right.
I mean, it's just I think it's very I just think it's very funny. Like that's the person that he picked, and he's always like trying to figure out ways to impress her.
Yeah, I think they managed for the most part to keep it on the acceptable side of creepy, like where it doesn't get creepy.
Right.
So yeah, that's a fun idea. Um, so Chip is just glad to be there. He's just saying some awkward things. Carl eats an entire basket of chips, including the basket. Uh, Rizzo and Pepe say that the winner will be whoever can charm the group of ladies who are standing in the corner of the tavern into hanging out with them. This group includes Lara Spencer from Good Morning America, who Pepe
Didn't know who that was.
who Pepe apparently has a thing for. This kind of feels like the writers probably wrote into the script like,
Insert famous, yeah.
right, whatever
A-lister.
cameo from another ABC show we can get to appear.
Although was Leno an ABC celebrity at that point?
No,
He's on in like episode 3 or 4, so.
that's true. Yeah, I mean, I guess he was not on the Tonight Show anymore
No,
at this point, right?
right. I'm
That was
only curious
NBC.
because I was wondering about the two. I'm like if they're if they're cross pollinating here, but
Yeah,
Jay had a show on the network.
yeah. I don't know. This one just feels like I can't imagine why else it would be.
No, I'm with you. I think the script probably said placeholder right there.
Right, right. And it was like, who can we get? Oh, well, here's somebody from from Good Morning America.
Yeah.
So, Carl and Chip go over to the ladies' table. We hear Carl yell, "Hey Spencer, I ain't shaving nothing. Let's get that out of the way."
Again, another stupid line that I laughed at out loud.
Yeah, very strange. And then
Again, it's one of those that, like the performance transcends the actual joke. Because you're right, it's not that funny a line, but it's just it's just delivered
well,
so well.
it is, and then it's followed by the real punchline, which is that Carl burps and foo-foo pops out of his mouth.
Oh my God, that was another disturbing moment.
Well, it's really funny, and also I'm just glad foo-foo is okay, you know?
Right, right. It's true. I did need closure on that.
Yeah. So meanwhile, Camilla and Gonzo are having dinner at home, just a quiet dinner. It kind of looks like they're both looking at their phones, so they're not really interacting much.
But what's so great is like Camilla pecking at her phone with an audible click every time.
Yeah. I mean, I guess she could use her wings, but yeah, I guess that's how chickens use smartphones.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever gone to the state fair and tried to play tic-tac-toe against a chicken?
I haven't. Do they still do that?
That's the way they do. I don't know. I'm probably dating myself, but that's the way they do it. They peck at the X's and O's.
Yeah.
Par for the course for Camilla there. Maybe she learned it at a state fair.
I've actually always wanted to do that. I don't know how they. I mean, there must be just like feed or seed or something on.
Yeah, a machine just drops the food into the right one. Yeah.
Yeah, but I am fascinated by the idea of chickens playing tic-tac-toe.
Yeah, I never won because they let the chicken go first.
Ah. So.
Also, a chicken is smarter than me.
So, so Camilla clucks to Gonzo and tells him to go ahead and go and hang out with his friends. And not a moment too soon, because when we cut back to the tavern, Pepe is drunk, and Lara Spencer and her friends are leaving the bar with Sam, Carl, and Chip.
So, once again, Bill Peretta does just the funniest, most convincing drunk.
That's true, yes. I definitely buy that Pepe is drunk.
And I love they've given him the drunk eyes.
Yeah, which is at least the second time we've seen those on this show, because I'm pretty sure he got drunk in the one with Ed Helms where they did karaoke.
Oh, God, right.
Where everybody got drunk.
Yeah, right.
So they made good use of Pepe's drunk eyes. So Gonzo shows up, and Rizzo and Pepe are thrilled. He offers to set them up with some friends of Camilla's, but they both say no because they're not interested in chickens. And then the last thing we see in this episode is Camilla back at home with her friends. They're disappointed. They're disappointed that Gonzo's friends are not coming. Yeah, go ahead.
This was weird.
This was weird.
This was weird. Yeah, This was disturbing weird. We've talked about that fine line between creepy and funny. This one goes over for some reason.
Right. So the joke here is that Camilla's friends are not chickens. They are attractive women. What a twist. And they get word that Gonzo's friends are not coming. they say, now what should we do? And one of them says, let's have an ironic pillow fight, like in all those movies made by men. And then they briefly have a slow motion pillow fight, which I remember when this episode aired, there was a lot of talk about this on the Tough Pigs forum, where we were like you say, where's the line? Like, okay, they say it's ironic, it's a joke, but also it's still women having a pillow fight in slow motion, so it seems a little bit creepy and exploitative.
Right.
I could have done without it.
And even the final punchline of it is a weird punchline.
Right.
Like, you're not quite sure what. I was like, so what, they were using chickens inside the pillows to hit each. Yeah, it was like a joke that completely didn't land.
Yeah, well, so they notice that. So when they're doing the pillow fight, there are feathers flying everywhere.
Right.
But then they realize, wait a minute, these feathers are made of memory foam. So, I mean, these pillows are made of memory foam. So where did those feathers come from? And then it cuts back to a wide shot, and Camilla is sitting there, and it's like she's missing all the feathers from her torso.
Right, but I mean, again, weird. I was like, what? I don't understand. What was I supposed to think happened?
Right.
Anyway, that joke didn't land with me.
Was Camilla like yanking the feathers off of herself and throwing them in the air?
I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's a very strange ending to this episode.
Yeah. Now you want to know a slow motion joke that was funny is the one maybe an episode or two earlier when the writers get the brand new suits and they do the Reservoir Dogs slow motion walk to the green bag in, and you think it's slow motion and it's not. They're just walking slow.
Right.
I mean, now there's a funny slow motion joke.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I did like that. But yeah, this whole Gonzo, Camilla, Rizzo, Pepe storyline it kind of feels like filler. There's some funny jokes in it, but it's not one of the best.
Right. Yeah, I love when they're being the writers, like when they're critiquing the show, and when they're like that's when, and the three of those guys, I think, even again, what makes it work so well is the three of those guys have genuine affection for each other as well, which just makes their performances so funny and so convincing. But yeah, turning it into, I don't want to say Three's Company because it's but like making them all roommates then together living. Right. I don't know, it's a little much. Lord knows what they would have done with that had they gone another season. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably something, Animal House with it.
Well, I am glad they brought Camilla back in. I don't know that I needed Camilla to be living with Gonzo. Like I don't need them to be married, but it is better for her to be around as opposed to the first half of the season where like Gonzo was trying to date women, and it seemed like they had forgotten about Camilla.
Yeah, and I do love how Camilla and Gonzo, it's like Han Solo and Chewie, and like Chewie makes this weird grunt, and then Han's like, "Oh my God!" and he like just said, and it's some like paragraph that Chewbacca just said,
right?
And and Camilla just goes, "Bark, bark," and he's like, "Oh, you're the greatest girlfriend ever. You said I have permission to go out with the guys tonight. Thank you."
Yeah, he understands it. Yeah, I thought it was kind of a misstep or a misunderstanding of what makes Camilla funny in. I guess it was the Muppets 2011 when there were a few times when Camilla would have a line and it would be subtitled.
Yeah.
Where like defeats the purpose of the joke of Gonzo understanding what she says when we can read what she's saying on the screen.
Right. It's almost like that moment in Solo when Han talks back to Chewbacca in his language. You're like, no.
Yeah.
Like Gonzo, like what makes it funny is, she's speaking chicken and Gonzo speaking English, and
right.
Both get it.
Yeah. There were many moments in Solo that made me go, no.
So, I saw somebody, I retweeted this, I think the other day, somebody was talking about how they wish that they were talking about the way they were subtitling the Swedish Chef on the episodes of the Muppet Show on Disney Plus right now.
Oh.
And they were torn. They were like, I don't like that it just says mock Swedish at the bottom.
Oh.
Do we want them doing flirty-der, like the phonetic sound out? I don't know. Would that be funnier that way? I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. There was that YouTube video of popcorn, like maybe I don't know,
right.
It might have been 10 years ago now, where
it
had closed captions that you could turn on YouTube, but if you turn them on, a lot of them were just like, they asked us to write closed captions for this video, but it's Swedish Chef, so what were we supposed to do? And then it kind of goes on like that.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah. So apparently, again, the Muppet Show, it just has like a bracket that says speaks mock Swedish, and the person's like, that's not, it's not funny. Like you need to actually
Right.
have the spell out of what they're saying, and that's one of the things that even in the Muppets, like the ABC series, like I mean, when the chef is on, like it's pretty funny, like him speaking the gibber, like nobody nobody spoke mock Swedish the way Jim Henson did for
Oh
some
no.
reason. But there's something like it's still pretty funny. Like you can kind of understand what he's saying. I
Yeah,
mean
you
that
can
that's
understand
that's
more.
really, yeah, it's really hard to do, to
Right.
make gibberish that you can understand. And like I said, Jim did it really well. But they're doing him okay, and that's maybe another one. If you're going to subtitle it, you would do just the phonetic sound for it, and it would be funny.
Yeah. Yeah, it could work, but
And or you could just put mock speaks mock Swedish. I don't.
yeah. I guess for people who need the subtitles, then I guess maybe that sort of lets them on the joke a little bit more. If they can actually read like Vern de Schmurdy Fleerty,
Yeah,
like
eat the
yeah.
chicken in der basket.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, sure, give the Swedish Chef subtitles. Uh,
Anyway, it's one of those things you just don't think about, and somebody's like, I don't like the way they're
right.
subtitling the Swedish
Yeah.
Chef.
Yeah. So yeah, as a whole, I think this is it's a very funny episode. I think the Robin story is pretty good. It like I said earlier, it does feel like they probably approached this episode as how can we start to get Kermit and Piggy back
Yeah,
together at the end of the season. But yeah,
yeah.
it turned out pretty well. So now how do you think this stacked up to the other episodes, considering you watched them all in such a short
So,
period of time?
so like I was saying at the front end, it was interesting to me, sort of shotgunning through them, because I think one of the reasons, like, I watched the first three, and then I just couldn't find the time to get back to it, or is because when you watch one, then you have to wait a week and then watch another, and it's a different experience than like watching one and then the next one starts right away, and then the next one starts right away. You don't really have time to be like, well, they're blowing it.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of, there's enough funny stuff that you're kind of in. I mean, I really do laugh out loud several times at every episode, and again, it's usually a Pepe and Bill doing Bobo. But there's, like you were saying, it's a lot of episodes are really well written, like joke wise. There's usually enough there to
Yeah.
keep you involved and keep you engaged. I think they're in kind of shotgunning, binge watching them. I think in a way helped me at least overcome the shortcomings of the episode, because I always had another one coming right away.
Oh, okay.
And so you don't get caught up in like watching it and then being like, I don't like that Miss Piggy and Kermit are fighting, and then I had a week
Right.
to sit there and think about that.
Right.
It's just different when you can kind of just go from one to the next to the next.
Yeah.
You do see, and I think the other thing that happens too is you actually do almost see like that turning point. You almost do see the show pivot. And I
Yeah,
think part of it
definitely.
is again when Pizza comes in, which is another really great joke, that character,
Right.
because he comes in and it's, what does he say? His name is Pache or something. Then he spells it out loud. Yeah, and then even Scooter's like, "That's the way you spell pizza." Pretty good joke. But
Yeah.
like that's the moment you can almost see the show turning.
Yeah, and that's also the moment that Kristen Newman stepped in as the new showrunner.
Yeah, so I think you can actually almost see the light go on right there when you're watching them all in a row. I don't know if when you were
Yeah.
watching them week on week on week on, if it was quite as obvious. You really notice that they're sitting there watching them in a row. The other thing that, and you and I talked about this off the air a little bit, is it's the guest stars feel, like we were just talking about in this episode. They were like, find a celebrity A-list game, host on the ABC network. They actually get some big hitters
They do.
in here quite a bit, and it feels like they don't know what to do with them. We were saying
Mm.
earlier, some of them actually have a lot to do. Um, uh, oh God, Reese Witherspoon. Like they actually give her quite a bit to do. She's one of the few that
Yeah,
like actually almost has like a storyline. A lot
she
of them come
does.
in,
Although
they
that
like
might be my least favorite episode, just because of that, like her stuff
her
with
with
Piggy.
Peggy, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a really annoying ending on that. But she's actually given something to do. That one feels like a guest spot.
Yeah, for sure.
Most of them don't. Most of the time, like you get Imagine Dragons, and there's a funny joke about their name. Oh, look, they used to be Imagine Dragons, and now they still are.
Right. They just sing
Um,
a few lines of a song,
they
and
sing
that's
like a
it.
few lines, and you cut away. And like Dave Grohl, I would love to see Dave Grohl go nuts with the
Yeah.
Muppets, and it's like just a missed opportunity. So it's like it's like the guests feel like novelty acts in here,
Right.
and as we were saying earlier, it's like it's part of an attempt. They're like, well, it's a variety show, and variety show have guests, which is what they did so well on on the Muppet Show. But you feel like there's so much more. It's a fine line because you're like, I want to see more of the Muppets, but they feel wasted a lot of times. You're like, why did they even bother?
Yeah, they're only giving us a little peek at the celebrity, and then they're
Yeah, I
gone.
mean,
Yeah.
like RuPaul makes like a pretty good appearance, but I'm like,
Yeah.
well, but it's weird. I kind of need more. I need closure on RuPaul here.
Right. Right. More RuPaul.
Right. So, but
Fortunately, RuPaul came
Dave
back from
Grohl's
Muppets Now.
yeah, Dave Grohl's the one that I was just like, oh God, more Dave Grohl. I need more Dave
Yeah, that
Grohl.
would have been fun. And I know this is something like maybe we tried not to be like, well, Jim Henson would have said this or Jim Henson would have said that, but do you have any thoughts on like you as a Jim Henson expert, what he would have made of the tone of this show or just the show in general?
I mean, the cool thing about Jim is he was never afraid to try something new.
Right.
So, so I give them that huge anyway, right there. They were not afraid to go out there and do something new. I mean, we always play the game of like, if you're going to bring the Muppets back to TV, what would you do? I mean,
Yeah.
I can hear the discussion going, well, we should try to do one of these, office type Parks and Rec things with like, the documentary style. I mean, I can see having that discussion
Right.
and trying to figure out how to work. And then what's the setup? Well, the Muppet Show's in a theater. Maybe they're it's 20 years later, so they're doing a TV show, and it's a talk show. That's probably the closest we have to. Somebody asked me like, would there ever be a variety show again? And I said, well, I think the closest thing to it is late night. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what they were doing. They're like, well, it's late night. It's close enough to the variety show from the. So again, I can see the conversations happening. I think Jim would say, E for effort on this.
Okay.
Something like, I mean, the Jim Henson Hour, E for effort. Tried a
Well,
lot of
yeah.
different things, a lot of different ideas, some of which didn't work well in the execution. Other stuff, again, he was right about, but it took us a while to go, oh, okay, that was actually kind of a funny idea.
Right. And that's a good example because the Jim Henson Hour was definitely trying to do something that was not just let's do the Muppet Show again.
Yeah, and part of what happened with that show was the network got in the way. And
Yeah.
you may have had that problem with this show. The network may have gotten in the way.
Right.
When Disney owns ABC, that's hard to let them get away with
Of
that. But
course.
it could be that network or the suits thought they were the smartest guys in the room and wouldn't let them do what they wanted to do. And so by the time they get to the point where they're like, well, if we're going to go down, we might as well hit something big.
Yeah.
And then you start letting Bill Beretta direct, and you bring in new showrunners. Like you could actually see that like they were starting to figure it out. So I think the setup actually made sense. I mean, I think it's sort of son of the Muppet Show setup in a sense.
Right. Like in a
And I
modern setting.
Yeah, so I can imagine that because again, when people are like, "What would you do for a modern Muppet Show?" I'm like, I just don't know. And then then people say, "What would Jim think?" And again, my answer is I don't know. That's what
Yeah.
made him Jim.
Yeah.
That's
None of
what
us
made him
really
Jim
know.
Henson.
Of
That's what
course.
made him Jim Henson. He would have figured something cool or funny out.
Yeah, he would have
And
come up
that's
with something that none of us could have possibly come up
right.
with.
So I mean, look at like again with the way something like the Jim Henson Hour looked on paper when it first started. Like remember initially within TV, it was going to be like you get teleported into TV. It's the early days of cable. Remember when you had like
Yeah.
70 channels and as a fan you would shotgun through all the channels. Like Jim was like, what if someone got sucked into the TV and they got shotgun through 80 different channels? We could do all these different really funny things. But that didn't ever really make it off the page. But you can see elements of that showing up in the later shorts where it was like the YouTube videos and the short viral videos that
Right.
Kermit was overseeing. So that's again Jim being right at the wrong time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
so
but I do think it makes sense for the Muppets to try to be at least somewhat contemporary.
yeah, well, I don't know because I mean the Muppet Show is contemporary, even as its conceit is very much out of the old school, like let's put on a
It's
show
a vaudeville theater,
and
yeah.
save the family farm. Yeah, like
Yeah.
nobody ran a vaudeville theater in 1976.
No, it's true. It's true.
It was an old idea. But no, I mean the great thing about the Muppets is if you have the right people and you think about it, you could make them work anything. But again, you and I have had this conversation, Rand. The the setup is secondary to the characterization. Character drives the setup.
Yeah.
When it becomes about the setup, then you've got a problem. And I think that's kind of where where the Muppets, this show started off. It was all about the setup. Isn't this funny? We're in a theater, and we're in a TV show, and we're driving carts around on the lot, and people are falling out of the carts onto the ground. And isn't that funny? Okay, but that's not really what the Muppets are about.
Like in the early episodes where it's like the Muppets are doing a show, but they hate their jobs. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's nice.
It turned out that no, it's not that funny.
Yeah, we don't like our boss, and it's just so the Muppets transcend the setup. It's all about the Muppets themselves.
Yeah.
And I think they were getting to that. Now again, we still had the weird, the three writers living together in the group house, like the Real World or something. But,
right.
But I think they were starting to figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if only we had gotten a season 2. I feel like I've said that so many times on this podcast.
No, I think you're right. And like I said, watching them all in a row that quickly, I was actually pleasantly surprised.
That's good.
Because again, you don't have time to concentrate on the words because you're kind of moving right on.
Yeah, yeah.
So and there's enough funny stuff. It's like John Lennon used to always say about Magical Mystery Tours. Like there's enough bits to keep you interested.
Right.
And there's enough bits to keep you interested until it kind of starts to find its rhythm.
Yeah, there's always good jokes. So.
Yeah, and again, every episode I got at least one or two really good laughs out of it. So.
Yeah, absolutely, the whole way.
Now, would I like to see Disney figuring out what to do with them moving forward? Absolutely. I don't know where we go from here.
Yeah, maybe not quite something like this again. Maybe I don't know. Maybe not quite Muppets Now, but something more similar to that. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Now again, here's one of the bits in the series, and I don't think it was in this episode, where you're like, okay, that's a Muppet sensibility. That's a Muppet joke. It's when Kermit's talking. And then finally he's like, Sam, talking to you. And Sam's like, oh, I thought you were doing one of those like talking head things.
Yeah.
And Kermit's like, no. And then later on, the joke comes back, and Kermit's like, why does everybody think I'm talking to the camera? Like, that is a perfect joke. That is making fun of the format. And that's what they do. Like, that's making fun of like those talking heads you see in The Office all the time.
Right. I'm sure they would have done more of that as the show went on.
So again, that's letting the character drive the setup.
Yeah.
Like they're making fun of, we've been shoved into this format, and now we're going to make fun of it. That's a genuinely funny moment.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of potential there. But I guess that's everything I have. Did you have any other final thoughts about the episode?
No. Like I said, I can keep coming back to just how damn funny Bill Barrett is. But I've said enough on that. But everybody, if you're going back and watching them, if you haven't watched them at all, take the approach I did. Put aside a weekend.
Sure.
Watching 10 of them on a weekend, it'll take you like 3.5 hours is all.
Yeah.
Just watch, and they're and then go right to the next one. They're very funny.
Yeah.
And again, you can kind of get past the bumps in the road that way.
Or if you haven't seen them since they aired and you're not sure you want to, maybe that's the way to try it.
Absolutely, yeah. So anyway, I highly recommend. We had talked earlier about this, and what would you recommend? That's what I would recommend. What sort of sit down, put aside a little bit of time, and shotgun through a couple.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, well then, with that, we can wrap things up for this week. Everyone, please check out toughpigs.com. We're on the internet: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and various places. You can find me on Twitter at Ryan Roe. Brian, remind our listeners where they can find you on the internet.
You can find me on Twitter, often yapping at Ryan Roe. I'm at Brian J. Jones. Spell out my middle name to find me. I'm also, my website is Brian J. Jones. You can find out more about books I'm up, but the primary place I'm doing to run my mouth is Twitter.
All right, everyone, follow Brian on Twitter. And make sure you come back next week when Joe will be back in the host chair. He is covering the episode Generally Inhospitable. So make sure you come back for that. And thank you, everybody, and good night.